Welcome to the How Did Show, where interesting people answer the questions, how did I get here? And how in the hell did I get here? With your host, Donovan Corneets.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of the How Did Show. We got a really special one for you today because, I'll get into the intro and you'll see exactly why this is such a special episode. So today's guest is an absolute icon in the voiceover world. He's voiced thousands of commercials and promos, although animation is definitely his specialty. He's voiced characters in movies like Sing, Wreck-It Ralph, Monsters, Inc., WALL-E, and Cars, just to name very few of the expansive amount. But also, along with being the longtime voice of Luke Skywalker for a lot of games and shows, he's truly known as the voice of the iconic Porky Pig. So please join me in welcoming Bob Bergen. How's it going?
That was a very Oprah name, Bob Bergen. That was very good. That was very good.
I'm trying to, I try to inject some energy into it, man. I want to get you fired up right from the beginning.
There you go.
Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's a really pretty sunny day here in Southern California, and life is good.
There you go. Living the dream, right?
Yeah.
So this is the How Did Show. We're going to jump right into it. So the first part of the How Did Show is you answering the question, how did I get here? So let the wonderful people know, how did you become the Bob Bergen we all know and love today?
Well, that's very sweet. Thank you. Appreciate it. But I had a goal to do what I'm doing for a living today since I was a child. I mean, I didn't, when you're a kid, you don't necessarily know the business of the business that you might want to get into. I just knew that I loved cartoons and I could mimic cartoons. And from a small child, I wanted to be the voice of cartoons, and in particular, Porky Pig. So and growing up in the Midwest, there aren't a lot of opportunities to do that, especially when you're, 8 years old. And I got lucky. My dad moved the family to LA when I was 14. And I just picked up the phone and phone books, and I called Disney, and I called Warner Brothers, and I called Hanna-Barbera. How do you do this? What do I do? And my voice hadn't changed. I was a kid, but they were all very nice. And I called Mel Blanc, found his number in a phone book. He was very nice, gave me some lovely advice. I taped the conversation, which is 100% illegal, but it's on my website. Do it. It's been over.
Statute of limitations is up on it, so you're good.
Yeah, after 40 something years, I think. And during the course of that conversation, he mentioned the name of the studio he was working at, and I crashed a recording session, watched him work, realized he's still doing this, and my mom said, yes, and you're still in school. And I just started studying acting and voiceover and improv, and was able to secure my first agent a week out of high school. And after 5 years of, survival jobs, various, just typical actor jobs to pay the bills, I was eventually able to begin to make a living at this when I was 23. And Mel Blanc passed away in 89, and I auditioned for Looney Tunes for the first gig in 1990, and have been, depending on whether they're using the character, that often, or, right now they're using them a lot. And there have been times I haven't done them, but I've been the primary voice of the character for about 32 years.
Wow, that's an incredible story. And yeah, for any younger folks listening, phone books, look it up. Also, Mel Blanc, absolute titan of animation and voices and cartoons from years and years ago. So definitely look him up as well, so you can kind of get some context of how kind of outrageous it is to just look him up. It's almost like these days.
People can do that today. It's called social media, and there ain't a voiceover actor working who wouldn't be delighted to answer either a fan's question or hey, how do I get into this question? I do that all day long, all day long, answering questions on my Instagram. I've got about, 50, 60 videos, 1-minute how-to videos. The only thing I tell people is, look, it's just my opinion, and also 100% honest. So if what you're not looking for is honesty, and you know how to make it in any business, I don't care if it's show business, I don't care if it's medicine, I don't care if it's law, you got to want it worse than anybody else. You got to be willing to work harder than everybody else.
Absolutely.
And you've got to be willing to never coast. You can't ever say, hey, I've made it, now I can just coast. because I always tell people I worked my, can I say ass? I just did.
You know what? Give another one. Just ass. There we go. Gratuitous ass.
Okay. I worked my ass off to get to where I'm at, and I work harder to stay here. So
Absolutely.
it's not a coincidence when people are successful. It's a work ethic. It's waking up every day saying, what more can I do? It's not looking for excuses. It's not looking for handouts. It's looking to be ahead of the herd, not amongst them.
Absolutely. So that's all incredibly true. And I find myself doing the same thing. Over the years have kind of reached a level where people are looking to me for advice and things on voiceover and promo, especially. And I tell them the same thing, like, I'm going to be honest with you. And as long as you're cool with that, good or bad, indifferent, whatever, just know that it's coming from a place of wanting to actually help you. And it's not to hurt you. It's not to demean you, anything. It's like, I need you to know the real deal of what you're trying to get into. And I tell this story often, but like the first person that heard my first demo, when I was just like, ooh, what's voiceover? I'd like to hear it. I'd like to be in it. And he was like, this is the worst demo I've ever heard.
But you didn't know better. You didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know. And it was funny. He said, do you want me to be honest with you, or do you want me to sugarcoat it? I said, well, I already know what the answer is now. But I said, no, I need honesty. And he said, it's not that you are just terrible and you're a bad person. It's that you just don't know what you're doing. But if you're serious, do this, research, read, contact people. And so, yeah, I always am going to give people the honest truth so that they can actually grow. And if you can't handle criticism, sorry, entertainment ain't where you want to be.
No kidding. Not only that, but if you don't have the drive and the passion to wake up every day and say, what more can I do in show business, then find something else in the world that gives you passion and drive. If you're concerned about statistics and competition, that's in every industry.
Absolutely.
So you just have to find what you love, something that you would do. I say this quietly because I do have a mortgage, but something you would do for free. That
Absolutely.
You get the satisfaction of doing, not necessarily the satisfaction of the paycheck, because certainly, it is called show business. We do have to get paid for what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if your incentive is to get paid, then you're going to be thoroughly disappointed throughout your entire career. Because no matter what, you'll never feel like enough.
Yeah. And I tell people, like, do not get into this for money. If you get into it, it's because you can't imagine yourself doing anything else. You just love it that much.
But the problem is too many people are teaching voiceover today, dangling the make money at. Look what you can do. And it's caused so much damage to the industry.
Absolutely.
And generations of disappointment that they'd like to do what you and I do. They'd like to do promos. They'd like to do games. They'd like to do trailers. They'd like to do cartoons, but they can't break in because they've diluted the industry with mediocrity so much that mediocrity owns the industry now. And agents won't take them on because, well, for 20 years, they've participated in the dumbing down of the industry, and they have only themselves to blame.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a vicious cycle. And I love that we can kind of carry the flag to just get actual talent, skill, drive, hard work back to the forefront. Really quick, I did want to ask you, what was it about Porky Pig that resonated with you amongst all the characters that were, out there for you? What was it that was like, you know what, that one, that's what I want to do?
The humor in his delivery, I could do the voice. I mean, that's number one.
Okay.
My mom would tell a story that it would be Saturday morning, and I'm like, 5, 6 years old watching TV, and she'd be in the kitchen doing dishes, and she'd hear the line on the TV, and then she'd hear the line again, and she thought, that's odd. Why are they repeating that line again? And she stood behind me watching me mimic Porky Pig back to Porky Pig. I just had a knack for the character. I found his personality endearing. The comedy made me laugh. People ask me this all the time. Why not Mickey Mouse? Why not Donald Duck? I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I did, and I found more enjoyment and humor in the classic Looney Tunes and the classic black and white Fleischer Popeye cartoons than I did in Disney. I found Disney too sugary sweet. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but it didn't resonate with me the way the slapstick Looney Tunes were made for adults. They weren't made for kids. And I found that sophistication interesting. That might have been just, who I am, but I didn't find a lot of the cartoons sophisticated. And I found Bullwinkle, I found sophisticated, and I didn't even understand the thing that was going on, but I found it sophisticated. Same with Popeye.
Yeah. Was there, and I would assume there had to have been, but I mean, as you got into actually being the voice for Porky Pig and in movies and in TV, was there anything that you kind of, I guess, learned about the evolution of the character that maybe when you were younger, it was more of just mimicking it, but then when you start to really become that, something had to change in the voice and your delivery?
It depends. I remember when I first started doing sessions for Warner Brothers, they would play me like this 12, 15-minute reference of Mel Blanc. Some of the clips were from the 30s, some from the 40s, some from the 50s. And I'm like, what do you want? And they're like, what do you mean? They're all Porky Pig. I said, I know they're all Porky Pig, but the character evolved.
Right.
He defining and redefining. So are you looking for 1930s when he first got the gig? What are you looking for? And they're looking at each other like we don't understand the question. They're all the same character. You're not an actor. You shouldn't understand the question. So for me, if I'm not asked if I'm not told what they're looking for, my sweet spot for the character is around 1952 to 1957. It's that Drip-Along Daffy, Duck Dodgers, Robin Hood Daffy era, where I think that Mel Blanc really finally owned the character. Ironically, we're doing a whole bunch of shorts for HBO Max right now called Looney Tunes Cartoons, where they've taken the character back to about 1938 to 1944, which is the Bob Clampett, Tex Avery era of these characters, which I am having the most fun doing because it's not the dry, cerebral Chuck Jones version, which was Duck Dodgers and quite a done over the years. The challenge for me from the very beginning has been, I'll backpedal a little bit. When people send me their impressions of classic characters, they're always sending me the catchphrases.
Right.
Catchphrases are a breeze to do. I'll tell people, read the front page of the newspaper in character.
Right.
Or in my case, Mel Blanc died in 1989, before cell phones, before home computers, before Uber. So Looney Tunes were always pop culture contemporary for their time. Right. They still are. But for the last 30-something years, we've been the producers are putting these characters into contemporary situations. There's no reference for.
Yeah, there's no reference for it, yeah.
Right. So the only reference is, the voice itself, to keep the integrity of the character, put them in contemporary situations and marry those two. That is difficult, but not impossible. Fortunately, we have amazing creatives, writers, producers, voice animation directors who trust me enough to say, can I try a take a little bit different than what's on the page? I always give them what's on the page, but then I'll be like, I think he would say it a little bit differently.
Right, because you become to know the character so well. You say, actually, Porky might do this.
And I will never be a, it's my way or the highway, and you obviously don't know this character because I'm not that kind of person. So I've never had them say, no, we don't want to hear it. But what they use is their discretion because I'm not part of that.
Yeah. So if you could kind of indulge, would you be able to give us a short sample of the difference between a 30s Porky Pig? Would I be able to hear the difference between a 30s and a more contemporary Porky Pig? Could you demonstrate? Yeah.
So an early Porky Pig was like Porky's Duck Hunt. So the line might be, where is that duck? And I can't even do it really well because Mel Blanc's voices were sped up.
Oh, wow.
So it would be more like, where is that duck?
Okay.
Okay. And I can't even get the right vocal tone because he hadn't honed it. And by the way, he wasn't the original voice of Porky. He took over for a real stutterer.
Oh, wow.
He matched that guy's voice, whose voice was also sped because he wasted so much time on film because he stuttered. We're like 70s, or rather I should say 50s Porky which I like, is where is that? Have you seen that? It was before
love it.
Found that rhythm to stutter until he thinks of a charming ad lib or a funny joke.
To change it up, right?
Yeah. I remember Porky's Hare Hunt. I think it was Porky's Hare Hunt, which was the first cartoon with Bugs Bunny. Porky's, I think, laid up in a hospital, and the rabbit comes in and says, "How you feeling?" And Porky says, "It's fine. I'll be on it a couple of days," as opposed to it's sweat. Oh, I'm fine. I mean, it's taken the essence of the original character, but honing the personality along with the
right. Yeah, it's almost like Porky's self-aware, realizes he has the stutter, so he's going to just switch it up. That's incredible.
Also, he had no real personality back then. He just had a voice.
Right.
He had an actor named Mel Blanc who was tasked to take over for a character he didn't create and try some consistency with the original. And then, for me too, after 32 years of playing a character, there are generations who have heard my voice more than they've heard Mel Blanc, because for the longest time, Classic Looney Tunes were on TV. So,
you're the only voice they know of for that character. That's incredible.
Or for the most part, perhaps. Yeah.
So what would you say, this is like kind of, you've already said you had this vision as a child. Usually I like to ask, if you weren't doing this, what could you see yourself doing? But I'm not sure if you could even answer that, because you've since like 8 years old, you pretty much had laser focus on what you wanted. But is there a character that you have tried and you're like, man, I really would like to be able to voice this one too, and you're close, but you just don't quite have it? Is there a character like that?
No, because 99% of what I audition for are brand new.
Okay.
I'm not going after classic characters that often.
Right.
It doesn't happen that often. And I don't care to voice match a classic character. Passion. But what I do love doing is auditioning for a cartoon or a game and creating something on my own.
Right.
Which is the bulk of what I do. I mean, Looney Tunes is very, very, thank goodness, very active right now, and very busy, and has been for the last 15 something years. When I first started doing Porky, there wasn't much for him to do.
Right.
First 4 years, I would do sporadic things here and there. And then we did the film Space Jam, which actually led to the series Duck Dodgers, which led to Looney Tunes show, and then new Looney Tunes. So that kind of snowballed the franchise. But man, I love creating new a lot more than saying, hey, if they're looking for a new Barney Rubble. Well, I can do Barney Rubble. It's okay, Fred.
Right.
Is my passion doing Barney Rubble? No. Would I turn it down? No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what if they call you though?
Yeah, but I don't call my agent and say, let me know when they're looking for Popeye. I don't care. But
I understand.
Creating new is fun.
No, that's absolutely.
Nobody can tell you what you did in that creation of that new character. That was a little off. It wasn't a little off because I just created it. You may not want it. It may not float your boat for this project. But if I create an interesting character, if my acting is good, just because you don't pick me doesn't mean you're not going to go, we got to think of something else for him because that was pretty good. We just chose another person.
Absolutely. Yeah, I tell people all the time when I will coach, I'm like, look, every time you audition, that's not just for that role. You're auditioning for anything in the future because your voice could clash with the music bed. That might be the reason they don't use you, but they love your voice. They love your performance, but completely out of your control stuff might prevent you from getting it, but they'll keep you in mind if you put your absolute best out there. So yeah, that's amazing advice.
Bottom line is you weren't rejected. You just weren't selected.
Absolutely.
And they can hire one person. So perhaps they wanted Tom Cruise because they got the bucks for a celebrity. Perhaps they realized, your voice is too young for the dad and it's too old for the son. But man, in episode 13, there's a new next door neighbor you're perfect for.
Exactly.
Tell us this when we have the audition and don't get it. We are never told you were so close. And then sometimes actors will, well, I must suck. Let me hire more coaches. I'm a big fan of coaching, no matter where you are in your career. But oftentimes you don't have to fix yourself because you weren't booking. It's circumstantial.
Absolutely,
And if you endear yourself with your agents and look, listen to my stuff. If I suck, let me know. If you want to redirect, let me know. A lot of agents are afraid to do that, well, because they don't want to bruise your ego or they don't want to babysit you. But I will always tell my agent, you tell me when I suck.
Yeah, please.
And she's like, oh, I'm happy to, so yeah.
I was gonna say, I haven't met the agent that wasn't happy to let me know, like, this read was kind of trash, Donovan. Let's get a redo on that.
Or it might say conversational, and the agent says, I know it says conversational. Give us one that's a little bit more pushed. Right. Or it might say cartoony, and they may say, look, I just had a long talk with the casting director. Give us one that's a little bit pulled back because they're getting really tired of everything sounding like a Smurf.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, but that's a conversation. I think every artist, whether your thing is voiceover, on camera, commercials, theater, you have that conversation with your representation, your management, and say, I give you permission to don't judge me based on my ego. My mortgage payment is bigger than my ego. You give me tips and hints and adjustments that you think will make you 10% and me 90.
There you go. And I'll put that on a t-shirt. My mortgage is bigger than my ego. That's awesome. Well, look, that's all incredible information. I hope everybody realizes, like, those are some gems right there. But we're going to move on to the next step, and that is spinning
the wheel of what?
And we're going to bring this bad boy out right here. All
right.
And so no cheating. So we're going to spin this thing, and whatever it lands on, you got to answer. All right.
Okie doke.
Let's do this.
How many spins do you do? Just one?
Just one.
Okay.
Cereal. Okay. So cereal is just a really simple question. Do you consider cereal to be soup? Yes or no? Is it a kind of soup?
I think that is such a fascinating question. I think that the answer is it depends on the cereal.
Wait a minute. You're trying to play both sides here, buddy. All right. So let me get a little bit of what's on the one side and what's on the other side.
Yeah, you let the bran flakes soak in the milk for too long. It's just kind of like a cold, mushy soup. But Captain Crunch stays crunchy even in milk.
It does.
That's soup.
You need battery acid for that.
It'll cut the roof of your mouth, but that's I think what makes it gives kids character.
A little blood.
I think it honestly just depends on the cereal.
Depends on the cereal. Okay, so if it's something that will get completely mushy, you're considering that on the soup side?
Sure. because there's what name a crunchy soup?
Yeah, you would have to put like crackers in it, but even that's going to sog up eventually.
And eventually it does, but that's not the soup. That's the condiment to the soup.
You just figured out the formula. That's what it is. No condiments allowed in the question. Yeah, I've kind of had some people try to debate this. I think the temperature of like when the ingredients have to be cooked in the liquid for it to be soup, not just you put vegetables and then put broth in.
Fishy sauce is cold potato soup. That's not cooked. I mean, it's cooked. It's originally cooked, but it's not served hot. You asked.
All right. There's always one. There's always one outlier. Fine. You found the one, Bob. But no, that's excellent. I haven't had anyone try to justify it with like bran flakes versus Captain Crunch before. So kudos to you.
What about watery cream of wheat? You added a little bit too water or too much milk. Is that now just kind of grainy soup? I don't know. But I
don't know what it is. It's not really palatable, whatever it is.
I was going to say I won't go there because I don't like the stuff.
What is your favorite cereal?
You know what? I haven't eaten breakfast cereal probably for years. I've been eating low carb keto for almost 5.
Okay.
But I also don't like milk. I don't like dairy, not lactose. I just don't like the taste. So I would eat cereal out of the box. Man, anything kids would devour. Everything from Trix to Fruit Loops to Captain Crunch, Crunch Berries, peanut butter, anything that's bad for you.
So all the sugary food coloring stuff, that's what you want.
completely bad for you, but had the best commercials as kids.
There you go. Yeah, it involved those bright characters. Yeah, for me, it's like if I really want to go bad, it was like Apple Jacks. I don't know why. I don't know
I
what
love
it
that.
is.
I love
Apple Jacks and the Apple Jack milk that was left over. Although now I use rice milk, but still. And then Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I think, is like.
I was going to go to Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch is like a gift from the heavens. It seems. It's amazing.
And since I've given up, complex carbs, and I go to the store and I see all these cereal flavors, like, you'll pass things like Oreo cookies. I'm like, that's a cereal now?
Yeah.
Okay, kids, here's what you do. You take a bunch of Oreo cookies, you crumble them up, you put it in a bowl, you put milk on that. That's your Oreo cookie cereal. You don't need to buy it out of a box. Eat the real stuff.
Life hack. Yeah.
Right?
I remember when I was, I guess it was a kid. It was in the 90s, and they had a Rice Krispie Treat cereal. And I thought it was amazing. And then I tried it again as an adult, and I was like, I cannot believe I consumed this with such fervor. It was like, it was just
a Rice Krispie bar, cut it up into little chunks.
Let it dry.
I've never tried it, but I would imagine the Rice Krispie Treat cereal is kind of like the marshmallow puffs in like alphabets with rice in it.
Maybe. I don't know. I never had the alphabets with marshmallows, but yeah,
alphabets were good.
Alphabets were good. I forgot about alphabets. All right, you know what? This is going on a nice cereal tangent, but you're like reawakening some memories from my childhood. Thank you so much, Bob. All right, so now that we've gotten our cereal fix in, and maybe you'll have a cheat day and go get you some like sugary mess to snack on. But
it won't happen. I haven't cheated in 5 years. I'm very disciplined.
Well, then you know what? There you go. I'll do it for you. You can cheat vicariously through me on cereal. So now we come to the second part of the show, and that is you answering the question, how in the hell did I get here? So this would be a story about something that occurred, something happened, something you were part of that either took you completely out of your comfort zone and made you ask yourself, wait a minute, what am I doing here? This isn't me. So what would your story be?
Only one story?
You know what? If you want to give me more than one, that's great. But let's start with I want to hear the creme de la creme of how in the hell did I get here stories.
I'm going to give you two.
All right.
Okay. One is hosting a game show. And I literally, when you host a game show, you do 5 shows in a day. That's 5 days worth. It's a week's worth.
Right.
And I remember taping our very first episode. They had a little mirror to look at before you go out. I'm a voice guy. I don't look at anything. I don't care what I look like. Shave, I don't wear makeup. And I'm looking at myself as I hear the theme song for the show playing before I hear, and here's your host, Bob Bergen, looking in the mirror. And I literally said, how the hell did I get here? I literally said that to myself in the mirror. Okay.
I love it.
I was hosting. I was promoting the first Space Jam movie, and I was asked to do a talk show in New York.
Okay.
And it was called the Pat Bullard Show. And a hosting agent happened to be watching that show and contacted me and said, you were very entertaining. Would you ever consider hosting? I said, no, I'm a voice guy, but thank you.
Right.
And I happened to just relay that conversation to my voiceover agent, who said, don't be a schmuck. If they know your face, I can get you more for your voice.
So come on, help me help you here, Bob.
Right. So I called this hosting agent back up, and I said, okay, here's the thing. This was during the era of, people throwing chairs at Geraldo Rivera and all the nasty, angry talk shows, confrontational talk shows. And I had a meeting with the agent and the whole agency, and I said, I don't want to do neo-Nazi anything. Yeah. I don't want to do lesbian nuns who like men. I don't want to do anything that is angry or bitter.
Right.
And they said, okay. And the first thing they sent me out on was a kid's version of Jeopardy, which at the time I think was called Junior Jeopardy.
Okay.
I didn't want the job. So I go to the Sony lot for the first audition, and I just kind of I had seen Jeopardy. I just never memorized it. And I kind of knew the formula, but I wasn't trying. I just went there and I just
Kind of phoned it in.
Yeah, I didn't even phone it in. I still had fun, but I didn't care. And then I got another call back, and then I got another call back, and finally they said they want to screen test you. You're competing against 2 other guys, and for the screen test, they had us run a full episode of Jeopardy on the Jeopardy stage.
Wow.
And Johnny Gilbert as the announcer, and the 3 contestants were kids, but their parents were Sony executives. So that's how they got the fake contestants for the screen test.
Okay.
I thought, okay, well, and it was cold. I mean, I didn't have a chance to prepare because they didn't show us the categories. They didn't show us anything. But I did walk up to the kids and I said to the kids, make me look good. I'll buy you each a car. And one of the categories was famous cartoon characters. Now, I was told that all 3 of us testing had the exact same games, but I happened to be the voice guy. So the clue would come up. He lives in Jellystone Park and he's smarter than the average bear. And with every character, I did the voice.
Nice.
And one of the associate producers came up to me and said, it was a great audition, but have you ever thought of voiceover? Because they had no idea. But they had no idea I did it. Because, why would they?
Right.
And I got the job. So that's how I got there. We only lasted 1 season. It was a lot of fun, really hard work.
Yeah.
Really hard work. But it was fun. Now, you want a second story?
Hit me with it. Let's go.
Okay. I took my mom. I was invited to a reception at the White House during George Bush Sr.'s administration.
Okay.
I had done Mrs. Bush, Barbara Bush, had a radio show called Mrs. Bush's Story Time. It was she had a literacy program where she would read stories on radio to kids, and she would have guest stars from real celebrities to cartoon characters. And I was asked to do Sylvester Jr. For an episode. It didn't pay anything because it was a charity thing. I said, "Oh no, I'm happy to do it. I get to meet the first lady. That's cool."
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, sure.
She wasn't there.
Ah, boo.
But about 2-3 months later, I got this big, thick envelope in the mail, an invitation to go to a reception at the White House in appreciation for participating in this radio show. Thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
And I've gone to RSVP for the White House.
Yeah.
And you have to get fingerprinted. You have to get this. We need your legal name. Oh, it's real. So I said to my mom, "You want to go to the White House?" And I took my mom. And it was, we're tons of celebrities in the yellow room. Just Google the White House and check Wikipedia. You'll see what the colored rooms mean.
Right.
And this Marine comes up to me and my mom. Marines chaperone all these engagements. And this Marine goes, "Sir, I have chaperoned many, many events here. We had Elizabeth Taylor and Prince Charles and Diana, but wow, Porky Pig and his mother. This is big.
This is big stuff here."
Yeah. And he goes, "Would you like to meet the president?" Who was not a part of the event. And I look at my mom and she said, "Sure." So we walked us to the Oval Office. We stood out in front of the Oval Office, and this Marine says, "Mr. President, I'd like to present Porky Pig and his mother from Los Angeles." And without looking up, George Sr. goes, "Hi, Dad." And I looked at my mom. I said, "This is completely surreal." I'll leave you with one other quick story. At the end of the evening, we're getting up to leave, and my mom goes, "What did you do?" I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I don't know. You look different." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You look thicker." And I said, "Mom, if you go to the bathroom, they have all these presidential sealed hand towels and toilet paper.
Oh my God.
I stuffed them in my pants, and we're going to give them out as little souvenirs when we get back home." She goes, "You can't do that." I said, "Mom, it's bathroom hand towels. I'm not stealing silverware or crystal. It's going to be people dry their hands with it." She goes, "What happens if you get caught?" I said, "Well, they're not going to want it back, Mom. It's down my pants." So I still have several.
I was gonna say that's a very good point, sir. All right, you know what? Just go ahead.
Well, also I said, Mom, they didn't measure my thighs when I came in. They had a picker.
Mandatory thigh measuring from now on, thanks to you. No, that's an incredible story. I mean, who would have thunk being the voice of a stuttering pig would get you to meet the president? I mean, that connection.
Pretty cool. It was pretty surreal.
That is a great collection of how the hell did I get here stories. That's great. I don't know if I've ever had a 2-for-1. That's pretty good. That's excellent. And it's just, I find myself being in positions where my voiceover career and workings and networking has put me in rooms with people I would have never imagined that voiceover would lead to. And it was like, oh, this is something I want to do. So I get that 100%. And none of it has led to the president, though. So point goes to Bob Bergen for that one. Good on you for that. Well, look, man, I appreciate you taking the time today to be on the show. Amazing stories, great advice as far as like with industry things and voiceover. And I know you're very big into the union representation and working for actors and stuff. So I wanted to say thank you for that. But before I let you go, let the people know where they can hear you, see you, find you, and learn from you, and where they can find you on social media.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Instagram is at bergen.bob. Twitter is at Bob Bergen. Facebook. You know what? Everybody, again, the voiceover community, just Google our names. You'll find out how to reach us.
Yeah.
There ain't a schmuck in the bunch. Everybody is reachable. They'll answer. But yeah, they'll find me.
Do you have any projects going on we should look out for that you can at least say, things that are active?
I know.
Don't break in any NDAs here.
I got tons under NDAs, and I always have to be careful. I did a podcast about a week ago, and somebody said that their previous guest, fortunately, wasn't live because they gave a list of things that were under NDAs. I said, "Don't post it!" Oh my gosh! Yeah. So right now, let's see what's on TV. The Bad Batch is on Disney Plus. Worked on that.
Nice.
Ridley is on Netflix. Let's see, Blazing Machines. I think Nickelodeon. I can't say that. Oh, Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max.
Yes, take your time so you don't slip up.
I'm gonna stop there because I might give away
inadvertently something. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can say this. I just did. Hang on one second. I'm gonna make sure that this doesn't bother you. I just did. I have played them before. Winter Soldier for a Marvel, and I've done a ton of those. So that doesn't give away which game it is because there's a lot.
There are a ton. Yes.
Bottom line is, I'm busy.
Hey, when you're a freelancer for a living, nothing like being busy. It's
been great because the last 2 years of COVID have been really good. I never worked from home until COVID, and I don't ever see myself going into a studio again.
Really? Yeah. See, I guess, yeah, being in LA, yeah, for me, it was, this was the norm. It was almost the special occasion to need a studio. I mean, a studio needing me to come in. That was like the treat. Like, oh, I get to go into a studio. But
with cartoons, we'd go to Disney, we'd go to Warner Brothers.
Right, of course, yeah.
And COVID hits, we kept going because we had to upgrade the home studio. But now it's like, I don't see any need to ever go into the studio again. Why should I risk that? Get on LA traffic?
Yeah,
no.
Exactly. I could be putting out some auditions instead of sitting in traffic.
Exactly.
No, I love it, man. Well, thank you so much. Great stories. Hope you had a good time. I had a good time chatting with you. And to everyone out there, thank you for watching. And be sure to look out for the absolutely wonderful next episode of The How Did Show. Have a wonderful day. And I don't know, do you want to send us out?
You mean something like, that's all, folks.
Oh my goodness, look at that, right on cue. Thank you so much. Peace.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me and having some fun as we interview some really, really interesting people. So go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, and be on the lookout for more episodes of The How Did Show.